Today we're gonna react to another video by Reekay. He's talking about why some guys are having trouble with dating in the Philippines. Let's dive into it here, and I'll comment as we go.
What we're going to talk about today is more likely going to help you understand the experiences some guys have when they start telling you about their dating experience in the Philippines. It'll probably help you understand these guys more so than I anticipate it's going to help them specifically. Now, if it helps 1 out of 100, I'll be surprised, because see here, these guys literally get in their own way. And unless they come to some kind of a truly life-changing point of self-observation and change their complete outlook on life, they're going to continue to have the same piss-poor experience for the rest of their life. That's just the sad reality of their situation. Now, what I'm talking about are guys that come to the Philippines, and despite the abundance of wonderful women, again, not on the dating sites, but just going about your business in town, meeting women, despite the abundance of wonderful Filipino women, these guys continue to strike out. And what do I mean by strike out? I mean two things. One, they can't develop a long-term relationship with a quality woman, a woman with a good heart, good personality, a woman with some good character. They can't find and date these kind of women for a long period of time. And just by chance, one of these women may go out with them once or twice. But with these guys, it never goes beyond that. It doesn't go into a long-term relationship. The other aspect of what I mean by these guys who strike out is that they may date a lot of women. And I use the term date a bit loosely here, but the women that they are dating are the low-hanging fruit. They are the women who basically are either very desperate and have like no real standards when it comes to the man that they'll date, because they are the type of woman that most guys simply don't want, a Filipino or a foreigner. Or these guys that keep striking out are dating women who are basically guns for hire. We're talking about the gold diggers, the bar girls, the women with an agenda who will date them, but their agenda is to get money out of their pocket into their own pocket. But it's not an actual relationship. And these guys are the ones that you will see online bitching, pissing, and moaning about how horrible Filipinas are and how rotten a life is to be had in the Philippines, and yet they don't leave the Philippines. Why not? That's probably a whole other issue. Maybe they can't afford to live in Thailand or Vietnam, but it begs the question, why the cognitive dissonance? If they really think that all Filipinas are so horrible because that's all they ever pull in, what are they doing here? Why do they keep dating Filipinas if they really think they're all that bad?
Yeah, what Reekay is talking about, he must have been running into a few guys of a lower quality recently, causing him to make this video. But it can really be summarized pretty easily. There are all types of people in this world, and not everybody's going to be upbeat and positive and a good influence for people around them. They are basically a not a great degraded being, but they're basically trying to find the right word here for it. But it's basically a person with less life energy. I think I mentioned this on a video before, but it's like an emotional chart or an emotional scale that you can plot people that you run into in life against, and you can pretty quickly sum them up. Of course, people are more complicated than making a simple chart, but you can usually always conclude or end up with, after you've met a person for a short time, where they are on this emotional chart. And what Reekay is talking about here are different points on this emotional chart. Some people are very upbeat, uptone, up positive about everything. Then there's other people that are more middle of the road. They get ill easily. They get depressed, perhaps. They get negative thoughts, and perhaps not taking good care of their health. They're drinking, they're smoking, they're partying. I mean, there's nothing wrong with those things, but on a chronic, continuous basis, there are some things wrong with doing that. But what I'm saying is, you can short circuit this whole conversation by just acknowledging that different people are on different levels in their life. What you can always conclude from listening to Rika about his complaint about these guys is they're basically low scale individuals. I mean, they wouldn't be watching this video or be interested in educating or learning about themselves to improve their life. So you guys are safe. Any of you guys are listening to this video, you are not in this category. You're more upbeat and more positive. So just the fact that you're interested in educating yourself and improve your life means that you're not part of this group of individuals. But let's dive in here and hear what else he has to say.
which they're not. Now, I have met over the last 12 years these kind of guys in person. So I'll give you 3 examples because they kind of differ a little in why they keep striking out. The first one is a guy that I met with for lunch there at Cebu Ayala Mall. He had been in the Philippines for about 3 weeks. He only had about another week left to go. So we were talking, and he said the reason he wanted to sit down with me was to ask, why is it he can't seem to get a date with a Filipina? Now, he did know enough to stay off the dating sites. Again, that's a very piss poor location to try and find a good woman. Not because there aren't any there, but because the percentages, I would say, are easily below 5%. Less than 5% of the women you find on a dating site are good women who are.
Yeah, I'm not sure where he gets those percentages from, but in my experience, I treat a dating site as a meeting place, basically. I mean, you still have to do your sorting, you still have to do your filtering. It's not going to be everybody is looking for a healthy long-term relationship. There are all kinds of people. There are going to be transvestites. There's going to be single moms looking for support and somebody to buy them milk for their babies. Yeah, I don't know what the percentages are of girls that are looking for a healthy long-term relationship, but there's going to be people of all kinds, and I don't think you should just discount automatically online dating sites and say with a blanket statement that's a waste of time. No, I think dating websites are good for making that initial connection, but then you got to start doing your filtering and you sort of have to sort things out. And it is time consuming. I mean, for me, when I do it, it's like it takes hours every day. It's not like you go online and within an hour you have your perfect future wife waiting and ready to meet you. No, it's not like that at all. You have to do a lot of work and communication back and forth. Perhaps do a video call first. That's very important. Perhaps do a coffee meeting after that, and you can kind of take it stage by stage to work it into a real relationship. But it takes work. It's not automatic, and you're going to have a lot of no's, and you're going to have a lot of rejections and failures along the way on both sides, not just you saying no to the girl and she's not a match for you. The girl has some criteria as well, so it's a process for both parties, and it's not a guarantee just to go on a wait dating website. But of course, meeting somebody in person is always better. You got them right there. You can look them up and down, and you can pretty quickly sum them up. If you're a good reader of personality, you can sum them up pretty quickly. So it's always better to meet somebody in the grocery store or in the mall or just walking about doing your day. That's always better. But the odds of meeting somebody interesting or somebody that suits your criteria in person at random is very low. But if you go on a dating website, you can probably assume that there's an average of 100,000 members on a dating website for a given city, for example, Metro Manila. So if there's 100,000 members there, and there's different types of members, you have to do a lot of filtering and sorting. But that's a lot of people. If you go to the grocery store, how many ladies do you see that are attractive and in the age range and might be single and a potential mate for you? Maybe it's 100 people that you see in a day. If you go to a big busy mall and you just walk around, you don't have to talk to everybody, but just walk by and kind of look people over in the crowd and see if you see anybody interesting that you would like to have a conversation with. But I bet you it's going to be in the low teens or less than 100 people in a day that you can do that way. But with a dating website, you go online and you got thousands of people that you could potentially sort through or scan through, in at least in terms of images. So the power of a dating website is very great. You should not ignore that. So I don't agree with Reekay when he just makes a big blanket statement that dating websites is a waste of time. That may have been his experience, but in my experience, it's not a waste of time. It takes work, and there's a lot of scammers. There's a lot of fake profiles, or not fake profile, but there's a lot of photoshopping or makeup and styling that goes on and trying to make a presentable dating profile. So you got to get them on a video call as quickly as possible to sort of start sorting through the masses of people that you can get in contact with on a dating website.
sincere about a relationship. The other 95%, it's just a game. So don't waste your time on the dating sites. But there he was, 3 weeks in the Philippines, and still had not gone on one date. So I asked this guy, okay, tell me what your experience has been. And he told me that he had gone into the malls and he had seen various women that he thought about approaching. Some of them worked in the department store, some of them were customers. And I said, okay, so what happened when you went up and started some conversation with her?
And don't waste your time, in my opinion, going up to store clerks trying to date somebody that's working in a mall. They work 6 days a week and they have one day off a week, and on that day they do laundry and some personal errands. So it's very hard to date a girl that works in a mall. Don't even try. I mean, the girls are beautiful, and that's the reason they are hired to work in the mall. But it doesn't mean they're going to be perfect girlfriend for you. Just put those girls or those contacts on the back of your list. It's not should not be high on your list.
He said, oh, well, I haven't talked to any of them yet. I was like, why not? He said, well, because, I was just watching them. And then I don't know, I got the feeling that maybe she's got a relationship, or maybe she wouldn't be interested. Maybe she's too pretty for me. Maybe this, maybe that. So basically, he had gone 3 weeks talking himself out of it rather than just putting one foot in front of the other, walking up and saying hello. He was still paralyzed and traumatized by the rejection rate back in the United States. And until he gets over that, he's going to continue to freeze up, sabotaging his own experience. Now, the second.
Yeah, that's very true. I see that also, but it's so easy to work around or overcome. You just have to pick up a book on dating skills and just read few of the first few chapters and pick up some points about social skills and body language and how to be a potential suitor or a potential boyfriend uh, in your social interaction. It's yeah, I was a complete nerd myself for many years, but it's a skill that can be learned, and you can be very good at it if you pursue it for a long time. I mean, I'm not suggesting that you should change your life and start studying how to become a master seduction artist. No, I'm not suggesting that, but I'm suggesting you should be a little bit more socially aware and learn a few skills, and you will come a long way very quickly with just a little bit of social skills in the Philippines, because Filipinos are very, very easy to deal with or talk with or interact with. They're very forgiving, even if you make a whole bunch of mistakes in your initial conversation or your initial interaction. You're going to pick things up very quickly, and you're going to learn what works, what doesn't work, and they are so forgiving. They're the most friendly people in the world.
Second guy that I spent actually 2 separate days hanging out with this guy because I found him from a psychological viewpoint to be an interesting character. And I don't mean interesting like entertaining. I mean interesting like, why is this guy so defective? Now, even after spending 2 afternoons with him and pretty much getting a bead on this guy, afterward, he messaged me from different cities all over the Philippines. For a while, he was in Manila. He went to Dumaguete, he went to Iloilo, he went to Moalboal. He was bouncing all over the place, which is fine.
Yeah, I see that with expats too. They have a lack of social skills, and they start bouncing around the Philippines to different cities, to different areas, and they're thinking, "Oh, there must be some area where the women are plenty, and I'll find my dream woman here or there." And it's just a matter of location, but it has nothing to do with location. It has something to do with yourself. You should go within yourself, and that's the location you should travel to, and you should develop some social skills, and you can actually be walking down the street where you're currently living and meet your dream woman if you have the right social skills. It's not about traveling to 10 different destinations in the Philippines to find your future wife or to find your future girlfriend. It's not about that. It's about finding yourself and learning how to become a better person.
I've done a lot of that myself. But the reason he was bouncing around so much, it was the same story he kept sending me. He said, "Well, I asked this Filipina out and I took her out to dinner and I don't know what happened. Next thing I know, she's on her phone, she's ignoring me, she's being rude. So I left and I went to this other island and same thing happened. Or they found a reason that they had to go home." Basically, he said, "These women are all giving me the cold shoulder." Now, the amazing thing is, in 14 years, I've never had that happen. But I knew what was going on. I had already spent those 2 afternoons with him, and it was excruciating. Why? Because this guy was a full blown narcissist. Now, he wasn't the malignant narcissist that seeks to harm others. He was the type of simply selfish narcissist who cannot empathize with other people. He's borderline sociopathic. The only thing that ever runs through his brain is himself. I'll give you a perfect example. I was walking along with him one time, and this happened like I would say in that one afternoon. I would say this happened about 20 times. I'm not kidding, maybe more than that. But he would actually, like, just for politeness sake, he would ask me a question, something like, "How long have you been in the Philippines?" So of course, I would start answering his question. I would get maybe 2 sentences into it, and mid-sentence, he would just talk over me, cut me off, and start telling me some story about himself. It was like,
Yeah, that gets back to the social skills again. This guy that Reekay is describing or talking about has zero social skills, and communication skills are very important part of being social. And it's basically, communication is like a football. You throw it out, and it is received by the receiver, and the ball is thrown back with a question or a comment to the sender, and that completes a communication cycle. And you got to study these and drill yourself on this, and you'll hear it and you'll see it all around you every day. People are not very good in normal communication cycles. Um, I actually studied this for years, in different courses, how to improve my social abilities and communication cycles. And as soon as you do that, people all around you, they will perk up and start listening to you, and your social life and the business life and your life in general will improve just by merely studying communication cycles and learning how to say something, and shut up and listen when it's time to listen, and when somebody else is saying something. And you have a dialogue, a ping pong ball effect, when you know how to do that. And it's, yeah, once you know how to do it, it's very simple, but it's easy to screw up if you don't know the communication cycles and how it works.
Like the question he asked was just a formality. He had no interest in getting an answer. Now, that might seem a little perturbing the first time. Try dealing with that 20 times in one afternoon. I was ready to just walk away, get in a taxi, and leave. Everything that came out of his mouth was about himself. And so it was no wonder that every Filipina he dated, on every island he went to, these women had the same reaction. This guy is only interested in one thing, him.
Yeah, and when we're talking about communication cycles, acknowledgement is an important piece of a communication cycle. And you can learn to give a half acknowledgement, which basically gives a signal to the other person that you're willing to continue the topic or the conversation on around whatever you're talking about. But if you give a full acknowledgement without any doubt that you received the original communication or the original concept, that person is going to think, oh, you didn't get it, and they will continue talking. Or, you know, it becomes like an effort or a struggle to have a normal conversation. But if the communication cycle is fluent and normal, it's like a ping pong or a ball that's being thrown back and forth, with new originations, with new questions, with new comments. And each question or each comment has to be followed by an acknowledgement by the receiver. So these communication cycles can be studied and learned. It's not very complicated. But if you mess it up, of course, all kinds of problems can occur.
Himself. He doesn't know how to give anything to others. He doesn't give other people his attention. He doesn't give other people any compassion, any understanding, any interest. He really doesn't care if he's been talking for 45 minutes and you're bored out of your skull. He does not care. He's going to tell you this story, and that's all there is to it. And then he'll ask you something, interrupt you, and then talk about himself some more. So, again, guys like this, unless they have some kind of come to Jesus out of body experience and look at themselves objectively and say to themselves, I've got to change my ways, or I'm going to keep getting the same results, which, by the way, a narcissist is convinced.
Yeah, even if they have come to Jesus moment, as Reekay calls it, and they realize something needs to change about themselves, they don't know what what to change. And I'm here today to tell you that um, it's all about communication cycles. And once you study those and you learn to use those in social settings, you will be home free, or your life will totally change.
They know exactly what they're doing. They have nothing to change. And all the problems that come up, it's because of the faults of other people, not themselves. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy where their starting point is, I'm not the problem, when in reality, that's the problem. Now, the third type of guy that gets in his own way and continually will strike out in the Philippines and really in any country is the one that is more common. In the first case, the guy was too fearful. In the second case, the guy was just far too self-absorbed. But in this third type of guy I've run into, the reason he can never hold on to a quality woman, she will not want to be around him for an extended period. The guy that attracts nothing but the bar girls and the girls with an agenda. It is the guy completely clueless about the Philippines culture, especially Filipinas and dating Filipinas. He is completely oblivious to the preferences of a Filipina when looking for a man. His only concern is, I'm an expat, I'm going to dress as sloppy as I want, I'm going to drink as much alcohol as I want, I'm going to be as outspoken and rude as I want, I'm going to cuss as much as I want, I'm not going to pay attention to my personal hygiene. And these guys wonder, how come I can't get a classy Filipina to hang out with me and fall in love with me? These guys are clueless.
Yeah, they're clueless, but I don't know why Reekay is hammering on this point so much today. Maybe he's had a run in with a few less desirable expats recently.
These guys act as if all they had to do was show up. Here I am. I'm a foreigner with alcohol on their breath and they haven't shaved in 4 days. And here they are showing up thinking, well, the Filipinas are just going to flock to me because I'm a foreigner, and that's all it takes. That's how clueless these guys are. And then they wonder, well, why is it all I keep seeing is bar girls? How come all
Yeah, I'm glad I haven't met any of these types of guys. There, there's not too many guys like this. I hope, at least.
I keep seeing is girls coming to me and then they want money? If 100% of the women are low-hanging fruit with an agenda, it's because the other quality women want nothing to do with you. And that's what these guys need to understand. Filipinas do have standards. They do want a clean-cut man. They want a man that practices personal hygiene. They want a man that presents himself well. They want a man who is courteous, who is not loud, offensive, cursing all the time. Filipina women do not want a man who is a constant drinker. Filipina women do not want a man that is constantly flirting and cheating and asking out other women when he's supposedly dating her.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of guys he's describing that he's been running into recently in the Philippines. But of course, there's going to be all types of guys, so expats coming to the Philippines, and just because they're a poor country and they're looking for quote unquote rich foreigners to help them out financially, it doesn't mean they're all going to be dying to meet an American or a Westerner and take him as a boyfriend. You still got to have some social skills, some dating skills, and you still got to have some manners, and you still got to clean up a little bit and don't look like a slob. Um, it should be common sense, but of course, Reekay is spelling it out for you here. So let's see what else he has to say.
So this third group of guys who constantly strike out when it comes to quality women in the Philippines is because they don't take the time to make themselves attractive to a Filipina woman. They have no clue that she wants a man she can be proud of, a man that is at least courteous, a man who is not ruled by alcohol or his lusts, a man that he doesn't have to be walking around in a tuxedo or a suit, but just dressed in clean clothes. He brushes his teeth. He showers daily. He behaves like a decent, happy human being. And if you have a positive, joyful, considerate personality, you will have Filipino women lining up outside the door. Because even a guy who may look good at first glance, if he is rude, disrespects her family, he does not have a chance at hanging on to a quality woman. She will pass him by and look for someone else. In the Philippines, they have a name for this unwanted behavior. They call it bastos. We would just call it something like extremely rude behavior or low class behavior. And same
Right.
thing, these guys who roll out of bed, shuffle on down to the nearest bar stool, and then complain that the only women who come around are barflies really have no business commenting on Filipino women because they are not making themselves attractive to the best that the Philippines has to offer. Now, as I said at the beginning, it's probably the guys who need to hear this the most who will not listen to it. They will just persist in doing the same thing and getting the same results. But I say all this for you guys so that when you run into some guy pissing and moaning about how he can't find himself a good Filipino woman, stop and ask yourself, well, is this guy really what a good Filipino woman is looking for? And don't entertain his long tales about, oh, the Philippines is a waste. All the women, they're just greedy for money. No, I tell guys like that, it's not that all Filipino women are bad. It's just that all the Filipino women you date are bad. And there's